Comedian and actor Jerry Seinfeld walks back his comments about comedy being ruined by what he described as oversensitivity. After a lengthy career in stand-up comedy that helped him rise in prominence, the star shot to fame with his eponymous sitcom Seinfeld, which starred the comedian as a fictionalized version of himself in his daily life in New York City. Beyond the sitcom and his stand-up routines, Seinfeld has also turned his attention to directing, most recently helming 2024's Pop-Tart creation movie Unfrosted. After Seinfeld made controversial comments in April that accused left-wing beliefs and political correctness of causing a decline in comedy, the Daily Beast reports that the actor addresses his past statements in an upcoming episode of the Breaking Bread podcast. Seinfeld states his previous comments were not true, and that it is up to comedians whether their material can land, explaining. Later on in the episode, Seinfeld says that comedians should avoid targeting previously controversial topics for an easier laugh based on shock value, and think about how their comedy interacts with today's topics. This begins when he's asked if it's true he won't perform on college campuses that are too politically correct. He says what Seinfeld's new comments mean. The comedian has seemingly reflected on his stance. Jerry Seinfeld wearing a tux and looking smug in Unfrosted. When Seinfeld made his comments in April, various voices within the industry and across the internet were quick to weigh in on his points. While conservative pundits and far-right commentators were quick to embrace his perspective, other comedians pushed back against his claims. For example, Rob McElhenney, creator of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, challenged one of Seinfeld's claims about his jokes, while former Seinfeld star Julia Louis-Dreyfus stated Seinfeld's comments were a red flag. The idea of political correctness, or just a desire to avoid mocking sensitive topics, ruining comedy has become a hot-button issue in Hollywood, and Seinfeld's initial comments seemed to put him on the side of controversial comedians and public figures. However, it seems he took the time to reflect on the point he was actually trying to make, and realized he vocalized it incorrectly. This is something of a relief, and it shows that liberal perspectives on comedy aren't bad. It all comes down to how a comedian presents their work. Our take on Seinfeld's comments. Many comedians are still thriving despite new perspectives. As people like McElhenney and Louis-Dreyfus alluded to, comedy has not been hampered by any kind of oversensitivity or political correctness. As seen with series such as Hacks and What We Do in the Shadows, there are comedies that can cross the line of certain taboos carefully and be transgressive without the intent to cause harm. This is something that some critics have had a difficult time grasping, and it seemed Seinfeld did as well. It is up to creatives to adapt and learn, and, as Seinfeld now says, it comes down to how original and clever a comedian's jokes actually are. There are ways to be funny without punching down at people who do not deserve it. Comedy is thriving just fine with that sentiment. As such, it appears Seinfeld has reached that conclusion and now admits comedy hasn't been destroyed by modern-day perspectives after all.